Okay, this question asks us to determine whether the functions are even, odd, or neither. So let's remind ourselves of our strategy. A function is even when what happens? When f of negative x is the same as f of x. Notice in that situation you have a function that is symmetric with respect to the y-axis. A function is odd if f of negative x is the opposite of f of x. The graph of an odd function is symmetric with respect to the origin. So that's nice to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and do our analysis on this problem. So our first function is f of x equals 4x cubed plus 9x. We look at f of negative x is what we have to look at. So what is f of negative x? 4 times negative x cubed plus 9 times negative x. What is that going to give us? Well, negative x times negative x times negative x is negative x cubed. Plus 9 times negative x is negative 9x. So f of negative x is negative 4x cubed minus 9x. F of negative x, factoring out the negative sign, 4x cubed plus 9x, which was my f of x. So we've shown that f of negative x is negative f of x. If that's the case, what do we say? We say that the function is odd. So if I look at its graph, that graph should be symmetric with respect to the origin. So let's take a look at that. Let's go to Desmos, and we'll graph f of x equals 4x cubed plus 9x. And if I do a double fold, and whoops, let's go home. If I do a double fold, kind of hard to see, but if I do a double fold, the points indeed match up. Is there one that I can see that's nice? That's pretty close. If I plug in 1, 4 plus 9 is 13. So it looks like 1, 13 is there. We see that point. So if I do a double fold, that would be at negative 1, negative 13. Is that also on the graph? And sure enough, negative 1, negative 13 is also there. So you see we do the double fold and we have a graph that is symmetric with respect to the origin. So indeed that is an odd function. Notice the exponents, x to the third, x to the first, odd exponents. That's a way to determine if a polynomial is even or odd. Okay, our next question is 5x to the fourth plus 3x squared plus 1. Let's write that down. And we'll determine if it is even, odd, or neither. 5x to the fourth plus 3x squared plus 1. We need to look at f of negative x, which is 5 times negative x to the fourth plus 3 times negative x squared plus 1. But negative x times negative x is positive x squared. Same thing, negative x, negative x, negative x, negative x will be positive x to the fourth. So I get f of negative x is 5 times positive x to the fourth plus 3 times positive x squared plus 1, which is the same thing as f of x. When that happens, we say that the graph is even, excuse me, the function is even. The graph should be symmetric with respect to the y-axis. So if we look at that graph, let's go to Desmos and see what it looks like. We should be able to fold it across the y-axis and have the points match up. Did I change the letter of that? Let me just check for a second. Make sure I use the correct letter. That should have been g of x to be consistent. But you understand what I'm going for there, I think. So let's go back to Google. G of x is 5x to the fourth plus 3x squared plus 1 If I fold it across the y-axis, do the points match up? It certainly looks that way. So this is a graph that is symmetric with respect to the y-axis. It is an even function. So indeed, if g of negative x, because really this is g, right? This is g of x, this is g of x, this is g of negative x. This is g of negative x equals g of x, and so g is even. All right, our next example is h of x is 5x plus 7. So we're going to look at h of negative x. If h of negative x is the same as h of x, it's even. If h of negative x is the opposite of h of x, it's odd. What do I get? 5 times negative x plus 7. So let's show that, right? H of x is 5x plus 7. So h of negative x is 5 times negative x plus 7. So h of negative x is negative 5x plus 7, which is not the same as h of x, right? H of x is 5x plus 7, not the same. So if h of negative x is not the same as h of x, we say it's not even. What is negative h of x? Is the negative of 5x plus 7, which is negative 5x minus 7. So yeah, no, that's not the same either. So h of negative x is not the same thing as negative h of x. That tells me it's not odd. So my graph should not be symmetric with respect to the y-axis since it's not even. It should not be symmetric with respect to the origin because it's not odd. We know that's just a line. We know what that looks like, but we'll take a look on Desmos anyway. So we have h of x is 5x plus 7. And sure enough, if you fold it twice, it doesn't match up, right? We don't have a situation where, let's pick a point, 112, right? 112 is not matched with negative 112. Is it matched with negative 1, negative 12? It most certainly is not matched with negative 1, negative 12. Negative 1 is here instead. So not even, not odd, not symmetric with respect to the y-axis, not symmetric with respect to the origin. Okay, what do we have next? We have k of x is 2 over x. K of x is 2 over x. Let's look at k of negative x. 2 over negative x, which is negative 2 over x, which is the negative of k of x. If k of negative x is negative k of x, this function should be odd, and the graph should be symmetric with respect to the origin. Again, do a double fold, that's what we should get. So let's look at our graph on Desmos. K of x is 2 over x. And boom, if I do a double fold, fold 2, 1 to 2, negative 1, then fold again to negative 2, negative 1, you see the points match. So indeed, this is symmetric with respect to the origin. Indeed, this is an odd function. And I believe there is one more for us to do. P of x is 7 over 3x squared. We're going to replace x with negative x and see what we get. So what is P of negative x? 7 over 3 times negative x squared. But negative x times negative x is positive x squared, so 7 over 3x squared, which equals P of x. If P of negative x equals P of x, this function should be even. If it's even, the graph should be symmetric with respect to the y-axis. Let's look at that on Desmos and see if that's the case. P of x equals 7 over 3x squared. And you will certainly notice that the y-axis is acting as a mirror. A point here has a mirror image over on that side. So indeed, this is symmetric with respect to the y-axis. When that happens, the function is even. F of negative 2 is the same thing as f of positive 2. It is an even function.